Getting things started for this Friday morning. It is Illinois in Focus Daily, and just to kind of gloat a bit about getting outside last night and driving far away from artificial lights, seeing those northern lights in central Illinois is always fascinating. I really haven't remembered anything like this happening ever. And so far this year, we've had two major incidents of seeing the northern lights stretch all the way down to central Illinois. So if you get a chance, you might be able to see some of that tonight. If you look at the NOAA website, it gives you a bit of an indication of what's possible out there overnight in the hours when the sun's down. We went out about 9:30 or so and just saw incredible images. So make that something you do. All right, get out there, enjoy what Mother Nature brings you. Of course, this is all because of a very large ejection from the sun that's pointed right at Earth. But it does bring about the ability to see northern lights in central Illinois, at least. And I've seen images from all across the northern part of the country picking up on this stuff. Just absolutely stunning. All right, so we got a lot to tackle today. We'll get to the latest in what gun control groups are pushing for coming up in veto session when it comes to new gun laws they want to implement. We'll also talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker traveling overseas, as well as Mayor Brandon Johnson traveling overseas. Plus, we've got to get to the latest in a lawsuit against the Chicago Teachers Union from some CTU members wanting to just see the books, so they're pushing for audits. But up next, we'll talk with the Center Square's Jim Talamonte, who's been covering the Madigan trial all week, and we'll hear from him some of his thoughts of what's going on there, especially with jury selection underway. So that's on the way here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning live at America's Talking Network, and get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. If you can't make the live chat each and every weekday morning, hey, go get the podcast, Illinois in Focus, anywhere you get podcasts. Former Illinois House Speaker facing corruption charges in federal courts. Prosecutors alleging that, well, he conducted a nearly decade-long scheme of bribery and self-dealing in trying to curry favor from Commonwealth Edison. We've been waiting a long time for this trial, and it's happening up in Chicago. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and let's connect now with Jim Talamonte, a reporter with the Center Square, one of my colleagues, and he's been in this trial from the get-go. But it's been slow going so far. We haven't even gotten to opening statements yet from the prosecutors or the defense. So, Jim, thanks for taking time with us this morning, and tell us what you've seen so far covering the situation in Chicago.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, it's great to be here. And I think at one point in some of our exchanges amongst us while I was in the courthouse, at times the process has been painfully slow. And the jury questioning did pick up a little bit, but at the rate we're going, we may not have opening statements next week. This could push into the following week. Monday is a federal holiday, whether you still call it Columbus Day or whatever other name you want to use. So there won't be a court Monday. You Right now, there are 8 jurors seated. The judge, John Robert Blakey, was pleased that they're actually able to seat 5 yesterday, despite the slow pace of questioning. So that gets us to 8. But you need 12 for the jury and 6 alternates. So this is still going to take some time, likely at least 2 or 3 more days, at least at the pace we're going. And the defense attorneys in particular have taken a long time with questioning. They've been trying to, and the judge actually pointed this out at one point. He said, I know you're trying to build rapport here, but we've had questions of prospective jurors about their favorite flavor of frozen yogurt.
When I saw that in one of your reports, I scratched my head. I'm trying to understand that one in particular. What was that about? Was that just niceties, or did it have something to do with the case?
Well, the juror did. They asked her what she liked to do with her free time, and I like to hang out, and I like to go get something to eat. Frozen yogurt. And so what's your favorite flavor? So there was, and generally the prosecutors have been a lot more efficient, but they at times too. There was a question from one of the prosecutors. The prospective juror mentioned that he liked the Doctor Who. Well, what's your favorite Doctor Who movies? I'm thinking to myself, this is costing us taxpayers to all be in this courthouse every day, and so we're dragging this out. Like I said, there were some prospective jurors who were up there for well over half an hour, especially the first day, a Wednesday, of the jury selection process. So it picked up a little bit yesterday, but it's taking a long time. But there have been some interesting exchanges.
I'd like you to also, if you could, tell us what the sentiment from the potential jurors has been. Have people been reticent to take part in a trial like this, or are people gung ho about it? And either way that goes, are those ones that are gung ho being chosen, or are those ones that say they don't want any part of this being chosen?
Yeah, there have been. I'm surprised. There have actually been very few who've gotten up and said, "I really don't want to do this. I'm doing it because it's my duty," and that kind of thing. But there have been fewer than I thought. There have been fewer who've gotten up there and fewer than I expected would be doing their best to get out of it. There was one prospective juror who was walking in and told me he should have brought his MAGA cap. He should have brought his "Make America Great Again" cap, because he's very anti-Madigan. So I suspect he won't be selected. There were questionnaires, 88 questions on this questionnaire that jurors filled out ahead of time.
Wow.
To whittle this down somewhat. And so there have been checks and challenges based on those questionnaires. So some of those people won't even get onto the stand in the courtroom. But there have also been some who are very excited that they've never been involved in this. They want to learn about the process. Fewer than I thought have knowledge of Michael Madigan. They may have heard the name, but not many. There have been a couple here and there who said, "Oh, I know he's powerful," or "I know he was involved. There were connections with the ComEd case." There have been some questioning. There's been some questioning about that. But you would just think, again, maybe just because we cover this stuff when we're more into it than most people, that to me, I mean, the name, especially if you're of a certain age, I mean, he's been synonymous with Illinois politics for, the better part of 50 years. And so there are some people who did not know, were not, or at least they said they were not aware of his name, did not have any idea. And that surprised me quite a bit.
Talking with Jim Talamonte, a reporter for the Center Square up in Chicago for the Mike Madigan trial. It's ongoing with jury selection, a lot more jurors to be selected, of course. But you've talked with a lot of different sources leading up to this, one being State Representative Kelly Cassidy, a Democrat from Chicago. And she, years ago, had kind of been at the receiving end of, I guess, kind of what Madigan Enterprise and their tactics were. Talk about that.
Yeah, she said she was harassed. And now, again, she said all this after, things were starting to come out about, alleged harassment and abuse among people in Madigan's circle, right? This wasn't back in in the early years when nobody dared challenge Madigan, right?
Yeah, this was
Once
around
some
2017, if I recall, during the Me
yeah,
Too movement, and there were a lot of allegations of staffers being harassed by leaders in Madigan's office. Madigan vehemently denied that, and then he said that there were investigations and so on. But Cassidy, being a state representative, felt some pressure and even had some consequence.
yeah, I mean, I would, a lot of people today would call it bullying. She was one day she was walking through the Capitol, and one person after another, people who were supporters, she said, mentioned union people, other allies, would come up and ask her if she was supporting Bruce Rauner, then Governor Bruce Rauner's turnaround agenda, which, Cassidy being a pretty far left Democrat was not, but they run after another. People came up to her and she said she thinks they knew. She even believes the Madigan people knew she wasn't with Rauner, but she said it was just a way to intimidate her, a way to let her know who's in charge, right? And these things happened on several occasions, and these kind of tactics. And so here's someone in the party, right? But because she had dared to speak up about the alleged allegations of sexual harassment and intimidation, and that there be investigation, that something be done, she was going to be, advised, so to speak, that she was going to be put in her place. Okay, you don't, stay quiet. And so she said, well, at that time they knew I wasn't going to be pushed around, but
Well,
she also talked about Michael
I was
McLean.
going to say, yeah, because Mike McLean here, he's a co-defendant in Madigan's case, and they even tried to be separated from Madigan's case. Some allegations that maybe Madigan's defense is going to say this is all on Mike McLean, and maybe McLean's defense saying that, oh, this is all on Mike Madigan. But Cassidy recalls having some run-ins with McLean.
Yeah, early on, she says he tried to. She wasn't sure what term to use, but she said kind of befriend me. She said, and he sent her a personal check and a handwritten note saying she may have a great future or be a potential leadership person. But she said that all ended very quickly when I showed I wasn't going to be controlled. So again, a little easier for her to say now after the fact than before all of these things started happening, and kind of the Madigan fortress started crumbling a little bit. But still, the tactics, as she said, and she's not the only one who's made these, who said these things about the Madigan circle, right? And I mean, people who ran against Madigan in Democratic primaries would have there were all kinds of allegations of things happening with their signs being taken down, with
Even
phantom
flooding,
candidates showing
phantom
up
candidates flooding the ballot with others.
with
The whole Jason
with a
Gonzalez
similar
deal
name.
too. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
The
pretty incredible.
Gonzalez. There was another year when there was somebody who had almost exactly the same name as the person who was challenging Madigan was on the ballot. But anyway, yeah, Cassidy had her run-ins, and she wasn't the only one, but she was one of the more vocal ones. And a lot of the stuff, even now, as she talks about, so wow, this was pretty intense. And again, someone in the same party. So
Yeah,
very
pretty incredible stuff. And then, of course, you've got others that you've been talking with. David Parker, a professor at St. Xavier University. He says that the judge is moving this as best they can, considering how high profile of a case this is.
Yeah, he's been, Professor Parker's very talked about how he handled the attempt by the defense to get these counts thrown out based on that the case involving the Portage, Indiana mayor. That this is a gratuity. This isn't bribery. This is a gratuity, and that could still come into play, as our colleague Brett Rowland wrote in a story at the beginning of the week, this week, that it could come into play in an appeal process. But in this case, no. So these counts are standing. These counts are going to be dealt with. 23 counts against Madigan. And it's been interesting to see that for the most part, the two separate defense teams, Madigan's got his table with about 5 people along with him. And then McLean's got 4. Let's see, 1 fewer at his table. There's only one case when they've made a challenge to strike potential jurors. There was only one case where Madigan's team did not go along with McLean. You can see there's been some effort to separate the two, and the questioning's been a little bit different from the McLean team versus the Madigan team. There have been more questions about lobbyists from the McLean defense attorneys. do you have negative feelings about lobbyists? Well, quite a few prospective jurors have said they have. And if they say that, then of course, then the questioning continues. And whereas in the Madigan case, there have been more questions about Madigan, the name, about longtime politicians or politicians for life. Do you have negative feelings about this, given that Madigan was in office for 50 years?
Right.
And then also about job recommendations, because again, one of Madigan's defenses, again, trying to get these thrown. Well, these were just job recommendations. This wasn't bribery or racketeering. This was just a job recommend. Job recommendations are okay. So, but prospective jurors are being asked, how do you feel about, have you been recommended for a job? Was this a good thing? Was this, that kind of thing? So that's, I think we're seeing some of these things that are going to come into play during the trial.
And that trial could start again sometime next week once they get all the jurors and alternates placed. And I'm looking forward to talking with you more as this progresses, and especially after we see some more evidence being entered, be it wiretaps, be it undercover video, the whole shebang. Yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch. So Jim Talamonte, reporter at the Center Square, greatly appreciate you taking the time this morning, and we will connect again in the near future as you continue reporting on this, what could be an 11-week trial. This is week number 1 wrapping up, but we'll obviously stay close to what's going on there next week. Jim, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network, and join us each and every weekday morning as we break down things you need to know for Illinois. That mic on. According to the Liberty Justice Center, Chicago Teachers Union has not published an audit for its members since 2019, and members are wanting to see what's in the books. How are their members' dues being spent? And the back and forth in Cook County courts about to begin, as you've got the Liberty Justice Center essentially saying, show us the money. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for taking time with us each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network, and get the podcasts. Anywhere you get podcasts, just search Illinois in Focus. And don't forget to check the headlines at thecentersquare.com. So the Liberty Justice Center says the Chicago Teachers Union is required to publish an audit every year. They have done that for 4 years now. They represent some CTU members who are asking to see the audits, so they sued this week. I had a chance to talk with Liberty Justice Attorney Dean McKee, and he laid out what this case really centers around.
So we represent a handful of educators in Chicago who are members of the Chicago Teachers Union, CTU. CTU has over 25,000 members. They include teachers, but also other professionals like social workers, paraprofessionals. So it's a massive union with a lot of power in Chicago. CTU has a constitution and bylaws. Then under Illinois law, constitution and bylaws represent a contract between a union and its members. And the constitution and bylaws of CTU have provisions that require CTU to make financial audits available to their members. And there are 2 separate obligations. One is for CTU to make the audits available for inspection at their offices, but there's a separate obligation for the financial secretary of CTU to actually publish the audits to their members annually. And that makes sense because teachers shouldn't have to, take time out of their day to arrange a private visit to the CTU offices to know how their dues are being spent. The last time CTU actually published an audit to its members was in September of 2020, when it published an audit that covered 2018 and the first half of 2019. So from the second half of 2019 through today, CTU members have not received directly from their union a mandatory published audit of how their dues are being spent. And we represent four educators and CTU members who authorized us to sue CTU to enforce that provision. Before suing, we sent a demand letter. We gave CTU a week to publish the audits voluntarily.
So in my conversation with the Liberty Justice Center attorney, Dean McGee, he also stressed there's no politics here. This has nothing to do with politics.
Well, that's right. And it is explicitly not a political issue from our perspective as lawyers and from our client's perspective. I've never discussed politics with my CTU clients. They don't know my politics and I don't know theirs. They have just stressed the importance as members of getting accountability. But what happened is on the deadline that we gave CTU to publish the audits, I received a letter from their attorneys asking me to identify our clients, and it was framed as a necessary due diligence on their end in order to verify that we actually do represent union members. But what it appeared to be was a ruse to start engaging with intimidation tactics against our clients, because that evening, and our clients could speak more about this, the president of CTU, Stacey Davis Gates, read their names to try to publicly shame them, associated them with things like Project 2025, referred to them as the extreme right wing, and all of that is baseless.
So interesting to hear from the attorney, obviously, but Liberty Justice Center also connected me with Philip Weiss, one of the plaintiffs in this case, who's a CTU member, a school counselor, and somebody who just wants to see the books because he's also on the union's pension fund to oversee those dollars. Chatted with him yesterday as well.
I was a trustee on the pension fund. I see many audits that are improper. I see a lot of money issues that are inconsistent. There's a lot of inconsistencies in a lot of different schools. They're expected by our bylaws to provide the audits. I consistently ask for the audits, and they give me the runaround, and they lie. And then when you press them, they smear and defame you. So it's just a red flag to me that that there's something is seriously wrong. I was the investment chair of the pension fund, and I oversaw the $13 billion investment portfolio.
So he's running again for another term as a trustee, and we'll hear about how he was treated at this meeting of delegates when it comes to voting inside the union. But more from Philip Weiss, the lead plaintiff in the case challenging Chicago Teachers Union to open their books.
Yeah, so they wanted, it was a meet the candidate meeting, and there were 5 confirmed candidates for these there's 2 trustee openings. And I'm one of the candidates. There's people running that also met the criteria to be on the ballot. And so it was supposed to be, meet the candidates. You speak a little bit about yourself. You answer a few questions, and you give some closing remarks. That was the purpose of the meeting. Now, interesting, they didn't invite me until I raised a huge stink about it. And last year, they didn't invite me at all. Even though I was the incumbent. So, this is, just ridiculous. So now a lot of pressure was put, so they invited me at the last minute. I mean at the last minute. And then before I was able to give my opening remarks, they put up a copy of the demand letter and described me as the right wing and essentially the danger to the union.
And apparently, Stacey Davis Gates, the Chicago Teachers Union president, during that meeting also mentioned Project 2025, trying to link Weiss to that group.
Yep, she introduced when she was introducing. She had said this is the legal arm of Illinois policy. Essentially, she was telling everyone these are your enemies. It was in front of the entire delegate body. She humiliated me before I gave my opening remarks. And when somebody called out, well, I'm not voting for him.
So the intimidation tactics seem to be what Weiss is experiencing, just simply for asking for the audits.
I'm very thankful to Liberty Justice Center for taking this case and helping expose what we're entitled to. And we have a right to know what happens with our money.
Now, while he feels some intimidation from union leadership, he says there's been a lot of actual positive feedback from union members.
I've got an overwhelming positive feedback from members, and I was unsure how they would respond, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. They're very happy I filed this suit, and there's numerous people that requested these audits, and they're getting non-responses.
And again, those requests, the union says all they have to do is just request, and then we'll open it up for them.
That was the other thing. They said, all you have to do is ask, and we'll be happy to show it to you. And they said that on camera. Stacey said it on camera. Their attorney, Robert Block, said it on camera. Meanwhile, I had made and they said, you just need to send an email to Matthew Luskin. I've sent 3 emails to Matthew Luskin, 2 no responses. One, he was out of the office for some sort of family situation. He doesn't respond.
Again, Philip Weiss is the lead plaintiff in this case, challenging the Chicago Teachers Union for not opening up their audits for inspection. Now, Liberty Justice Center says that they were told they could come in and inspect these, but even that, Weiss says, has not been allowed.
No, they won't. I've tried numerous times. I've called. They will not return my calls. I don't even know if they exist, to be honest.
So we'll see what ultimately transpires in this lawsuit when it comes to accountability for how the union is spending its members' money. But if you look at the Liberty Justice Center's X post here, you'll see they talk about how the lawyers sent them a letter threatening to seek sanctions for harassing and frivolous lawsuits. They say, go ahead and try. And while you're in front of the court, maybe you can explain why CTU hasn't published the audits and why your obstruction isn't a waste of everyone's time and money. Or you could just publish the audits as everyone knows you're required to do. And looking at the letter they shared, they obviously say that, they've given opportunity to respond to the request if the suit was actually filed, and given your failure to first avail yourself to the opportunity by CTU members to inspect the union audits by request, the lawsuit's harassing and frivolous. But then they go on to respond with emails that we heard Weiss talk about, requesting to view these things and really not hearing anything back. So kind of interesting, and something that's really driven by the desire for accountability. So we'll watch that closely as well as that case continues to develop over time. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join us each and every weekday morning as we break down things you need to know for starting your day. It is Illinois in Focus here with America's Talking Network. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. All right, get the podcast anywhere you get podcasts for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, stay tuned. We've got a few more things to tackle here as we also struggle with a minor music interlude issue, but we'll get that figured out here. It's a live to tape, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we do it here with Illinois in Focus Daily, launching a particular program to get that going. Chat room is alive and active. Really appreciate you guys being in there each and every weekday morning. And if you are able to, be sure to join us at the live stream. All right. Okay. So here we go. Let's just go ahead and get into the next segment here with Illinois in Focus Daily. as Governor J.B. Pritzker and House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch and Senate President Don Harmon return from Japan on a business trip to bring more investment. You've got Mayor Brandon Johnson jetting over to London. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Happy Friday. Governor Pritzker with other dignitaries from Illinois going to Japan to talk about business and bringing business back to Illinois. This is clearly an effort that the governor has championed, saying that he is a chief promoter for Illinois. They finished up their trip overseas yesterday. So I imagine we'll hear a lot more about this in the days and weeks ahead. But one of the outcomes from the trip did deal with expanded investment from a Japanese subsidiary, Sysmex. But before the governor went off to Japan, he talked about what he's really aiming at doing here.
I had people tell me when we started this effort a few years ago to start to really promote the state to businesses that they had not heard from the state of Illinois or the governor of the state of Illinois since Jim Thompson was governor, right? That's 40 years. So, I mean, that's, in a way, that's embarrassing to admit about our state, but it also says we must be doing something right because everybody's recognizing it now and they want to talk to us and they want to come here. So I feel good about the prospects for us bringing businesses to the city of Peoria and to the surrounding community, the county and the region here.
So the governor, again, addressing, the idea of, he was in Peoria when he talked about that last week. But he went into more detail about the variety of things that he says attract people to Illinois, despite Illinois having continued population decline. He talked about community college investment and higher education investments in the workforce, and also energy. Bingo.
And then we have lots of other things. I'll just point out that we have the third most reliable energy grid in the entire country. Now, maybe that sounds uninteresting to you, but for a lot of businesses, right, making sure that they have a continuous source of electricity that doesn't go out. You remember a couple of years ago when Texas, the lights went out for a couple of weeks. Okay, because their grid is no good. Ours is the third most reliable. Oh, by the way, the other two most reliable ahead of us are small states where it's pretty easy to do. We're the largest. We are in the top 10 most populous states. We're the ones that have the most reliable electric grid, and then clean energy, which companies, you'd be surprised. They show up at our door. It's like the first, second, or third question they ask. Yeah, have you got the electricity? But we want clean energy. We want to know that we're getting it from clean sources. And because of the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that we passed a couple of years ago, here in Illinois, we've doubled the amount of renewable energy that we're providing since 2021 when this went into effect. And I don't want to promise too much, but I think over the next year you're going to see numbers that show that we will have tripled it over the next 12 months. So I meant since we started, not from today. We're not going to triple it from today, but more clean energy, solar, wind, and then we've got really terrific. We're the largest state for nuclear, and the reason that's so important is it's base load, very important. More than 50% of our electricity in the state of Illinois comes from nuclear. And so we're able to build on top of that for states that are running out of electricity. It's going to take us, it'll be a long time till we run out, though we need to keep building our distribution and our production.
So he again talks about clean energy and the need for that, but doesn't really mention that they're planning on closing coal-fired power plants by 2050, I think. So the governor coming back again, announcing earlier this week that Sysmex, being an essential fabric to the northeastern part of the states, they're expanding their operations with some investments. It says they're going to create 110 new jobs and retain nearly 550. We'll obviously hear more when the governor holds a news conference soon. He doesn't have anything planned for today. Probably got some jet lag, but you got, that delegation comes back from Japan, Mayor Brandon Johnson going over to London. He's there now, and he was asked about this earlier in the week. We heard this in his response to the question, but worth hearing again.
Mayor, is this a good week to go to London for a Bears game? And also, who's going to pay for that trip?
All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to London to attract business to Chicago. Okay? I'm going to London to attract business in Chicago.
But are you going to the game?
Hold on a second. Because you already know the answer to that. But I just want to make sure that you do the people of Chicago service. Because I have to be very honest with you. It's pretty jacked up the way you frame that. Right. It is. It is. It's disrespectful and condescending that the black man is going to London for a game. It's disrespectful. It is. And people get away with that too much. The governor went to Tokyo. The governor went to Tokyo to attract business. The mayor of Chicago is going to London to attract business, and while I'm there, I'm going to root for the Chicago Bears.
So clearly, the mayor didn't really like the tone of the question. But then the following day, at a separate news conference after the city council met on Wednesday, he was asked again to talk a little bit about the itinerary, what they're doing over there in London. So before he got on the jet to go to London, Johnson had this to say.
I wanted to ask about your trip to London this week. Is there an itinerary set? Can you tell us who you'll be talking to, what you'll be doing, and who's paying for that trip?
Yeah, so World Business Chicago, and we'll get the itinerary to you. Look, the goal is, we are an international city. So mayors have all taken international trips around the globe. I'm not the first mayor to do that, okay? And so the goal is to continue to do the work that I've been doing for the last 15, 16, almost 17 months now. Is to continue to attract businesses to Chicago. There's a strong relationship between Chicago and London, as there is a strong relationship internationally between, America and England, Great Britain, the United States of America. This relationship is fortified through strong relationships with cities. Look, the NFL obviously is growing its brand internationally as well. During the DNC, we spoke to 3 Chinese companies that we're trying to attract here, 2,500 jobs. So, but we're happy to get you the specific itinerary of the individuals that we'll be speaking with. But it's all centered around economic development and my vision to invest in our young people, workforce development, housing, transportation, the whole giddy up.
So
and who's paying for that trip?
World Business Chicago.
World Business Chicago paying for his trip, and we'll obviously see what kind of fruits come out of that. But he does plan on going to the Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguar game. So there you go. But, listen, Illinois' economic situation, according to the Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, it's the first quarter of the year. Things are kind of strange, is one way you could put it. Because, listen, COGFA's report talks about household incomes rebounding and all of the money that's coming in taxes from the likes of cannabis and such. But one thing that's, I think, important to address here is at the tail end of the report, it goes into significant changes in revenues. Weaker transfers and federal sources create sharp declines in September revenues, despite notable increases in personal income tax receipts. And just in the first quarter of the fiscal year, the state's numbers not looking that good. In particular, personal income tax revenues flourished in September. Corporate income tax receipts, on the other hand, fell $89 million in September. This was a decline of $71 million, or 7.6 negative on net basis. Part of the decline due to the aforementioned reallocation of revenues, which lessened the month's total by $54 million. But in addition, the Department of Revenue has updated default rates to allocate more business-related tax revenues, which results in a corresponding reduction in the amounts. So, obviously some accounting issues there that deal with lower than normal tax receipts for the first quarter. But it was also a down month for all other sources. Collectively, these revenues fell $93 million in September. The largest decline came from insurance taxes. Similarly, another timing element appears to have created a $36 million reduction in revenues for interest state funds and investments. So a lot of different numbers and indicators there for how Illinois' economy is impacted by this. When I talked with State Representative Dan Ugasti earlier this week about Lawsuit Abuse Awareness Week, he talked about how there's a lot of things that the state has to contend with to get it right for businesses.
Sure. Overregulation has been a big problem of ours. High cost of litigation, which you've talked about, and I've responded to, are big problems of ours, as well as overtaxation. And all of these are leading to severe problems for Illinois. It was pointed out to us at the beginning of the last year of the General Assembly in early 2024 by Moody's that we are lagging the rest of the nation in growth. And then a little bit later in the year, COGFA, the Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, told us that not only are we behind the rest of the nation, we actually contracted as an economy in the first part of the year, and we contracted by more than anyone else. So we're having real problems here. And I'm just reading a new summary of a COGFA report saying that we're down in revenue this year. We are going to face more and more problems if we don't turn around the way we're doing things. Our only real problem in this state is the way we govern, and we can fix that. And that's what I'm focused on.
And again, that's State Representative Dan Ugasti talking about the economic conditions for the state of Illinois. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell each and every weekday morning for this program and all the segments that you get. You'll get the podcast where you get your podcast. Just search Illinois in Focus. But hit that subscription with America's Talking Network. All right? It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Oh, I know what I'm doing this weekend. I got some engineering to do. All right, let's talk about something else here and wrap up this Friday. Gun control groups have a push to bring about more gun control laws in the state of Illinois. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Before we talk about what GPAC's looking for with safe gun storage and reporting requirements for lost and stolen, let's get an update on some of the litigation against Illinois gun laws. And this is something I think that we've been tracking and will continue to track, especially in the case concerning the concealed carry challenge up in the Northern District of Illinois Federal Court. In 2022, an individual and several others sued the state over its prohibition of carrying concealed firearms by licensed individuals on mass transit. Earlier this year in September, a federal judge said it violates the Second Amendment and then ordered that this can't be implemented on the named plaintiffs. And you had all the drama as well about the issue of the state in their appeal saying that, 3 days after the judge's order, there was a mass shooting on a CTA line. Then the judge held a hearing and blasted the attorneys for writing that and then denied their motion to hold his order pending appeal. Well, up in the appeals court yesterday, they issued this order from the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. Says, on consideration of the papers filed in these appeals and review of the short records, this court concludes that Rule 58 judgment entered in this case is deficient. A judgment must provide relief to which the prevailing party is entitled. The judgment entered in this case fails to do so, the appeals court said. They go on to say, for declaratory judgment actions, district courts must declare specifically and separately the respective rights of the parties, not simply state in a memorandum opinion, minute order, or from prescribed for judgments in civil cases that a motion has been granted or denied. So they're looking for some more clarity. They say it's deficient. In this case, the clerk of the courts, not the judge, entered and signed the judgment. In the judgment, the court says that judgments entered in favor of plaintiffs, except that two defendants are terminated per order, but it provides no relief to the appellants accordingly. So it's ordered that these appeals are remanded to the district court to enter a judgment that fully and correctly implements its decision granting declaratory relief to the plaintiffs. So essentially what they've done here is they've kicked the case back to the district courts to get a more clear order. Again, this is the Seventh Circuit responding to the Schoenthal appeal, challenging Illinois' concealed carry ban on mass transit. But again, not the only thing that is happening in the gun control space. You've got GPAC, the Gun Violence Prevention PAC, releasing this yesterday, saying that they're urging for lawmakers to advance the Safe at Home legislative package during fall veto session. Fall veto session coming up after the November election, so they're going to have to tackle several things. There's no big vetoes they have to address, but you've got advocates from all around pushing for different laws to pass, one of them being this Safe at Home legislative package. So let's read through this. They say that the Safe at Home legislative package launched at UCAN, Chicago, with a bunch of advocates on hand. The package includes Safe Firearms Storage Act, sponsored by Laura Ellman and Representative Hirschauer, that would strengthen existing Illinois laws around safe firearms storage. Safe at Home also includes the Lost and Stolen Firearms Reporting Bill that, they say, is meant to increase reporting requirements when firearms are lost and stolen from lawful gun owners. So they're pushing for this to happen during fall veto session. Some of the more particulars that they say the laws would do if they're approved would increase the age required for safe weapons storage in homes from 13 years old to 18, and it would enhance what it means to safely store a weapon in homes in Illinois. The Lost and Stolen Firearms Reporting Bill would shorten the time period to report a gun lost or stolen to authorities to 48 hours from 72 hours. So again, some of the things that the gun control groups are pushing for in the state of Illinois, despite ongoing litigation against other gun laws, right? So clearly we'll be watching this closely and see what the latest developments are. In other cases, as we've talked about, you've got the challenge against the semi-automatic gun and magazine ban. That's still pending. Judge Stephen McGlynn has given the litigants until the 20th or the 21st to file final briefs about text history and tradition. That's after that 4-day bench trial that we covered thoroughly last month. So don't expect an order until sometime thereafter the 21st here in October. Is it going to happen before the end of the month? Is it going to happen sometime in November? How long will it take before the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals steps in? So you've got that as well. But you've also got the Cook County ban being challenged. And the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals has a hearing set in November. So that's something else that we'll be watching closely. All right. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Stay up to date with what's going on in Illinois with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning here. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right. Get the podcast anywhere you get podcasts for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, thanks for enduring through all of the hiccups. Obviously, I'm going to have to take some time this weekend and plug some things in, test some things out, get everything situated so I'm not draining multiple computers just to get this show on the air. So thank you guys for being here each and every weekday morning. Be sure to check out the clips and the podcast if you can't make the live show. A lot of people tuning in this morning on the live chat. Pretty robust conversations. Sorry I can't really interact too much with what's going on there, but I really do appreciate you guys being there. Hey, next week, tons to get to. We, of course, have more Madigan trial news. We'll be talking about gender transition, statistics in Illinois. We'll also maybe talk a little bit about the how the state of Illinois is a winner-take-all state when it comes to the Electoral College. And here's some thoughts about that. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week with Illinois in Focus Daily.